warm. Is it warm? It's steamy in here, is it? Have you got the heater on, Mark? It must be the cafe. Yeah. Ha ha ha! G'day everybody. How are you going today? It is so good to see you. Ha! Well, you know I'm talking a lot about the Nikons and the Zs and those things. Well, today is going to be no different. I'm going to talk about them again. And today I want to talk about the Nikon roadmap. Nikon have, over the last few weeks and months, committed to 23 lenses out by the end of 2021. Now that's exciting. And I just want to quickly touch on each lens and where I think it fits and what I think it does and why I think it's important as a little bit of an addendum to my D6. It's not the end of the world. Well, this is the Nikon Z roadmap. It's not the end of the world. I'll show you a quick screenshot and we'll quickly name all of the lenses. From left to right, we have the very soon to be released, yet announced 70-200 2.8. We have then next to it the 85mm 1.8, the 24-70 2.8, the 24 1.8, the 24-70 f4. Then taking up the entire space, we have the 200-600, which mysteriously does not have an f-stop rating yet. The 16-50 3.5 to 6.3 VR. The S-Line 50mm 1.8, the S-Line 14-30 f4, the DX 50-250 4.5 to 6.3 VR, the S-Line 35 f 1.8, and of course the mental as anything Noct 58 0.95. That's on the top line, and then the bottom line, we're halfway there. We have the Pancake lens, which I'm personally very excited about. The 40mm version of that, then the DX 18-140, the 24-200 full frame lens, the S-Line 24-105, which I'm guessing will be an f4, but who knows because they haven't put the spec there. Maybe Nikon are going to do something special with that crazy Z mount of theirs. Perhaps in line with Canon's 24-70 f2, perhaps Nikon could squeeze out a 3.5 through the range 24-120, who knows. The S-Line 50mm f 1.2, which will hopefully slow down those naysayers that Nikon just should be getting all of this crazy 1.2 glass out like Canon, because Canon's done it and that's just the only way to go. No, it's not. Then we have the S-Line 100-400, the S-Line Micro 105, the S-Line 14-24 2.8, the S-Line 20mm 1.8, the Micro 60mm, and the Pancake 28mm. So that is, as they state here on this press release image. Get ready for rapid expansion. Nikon is fully committed to the future of the Z system with a total of 23 amazing lenses that will be available by the end of 2021. So surely that is going to cover 90% of people's needs by the end of 2021, which is not that far off. So it's pretty exciting, pretty exciting. So let's quickly touch on each of those lenses and where they might fit into your world and my world. The 70-200 2.8, well, this is a workhorse lens that is perhaps one of the highest selling lenses that any manufacturer sells because so many people use and want this sort of lens. It's an absolute all-rounder. It's running a little bit late, but we'll have it very soon. And it, of course, helps us make up the holy trinity of lenses, which is the 14-30, soon to be the 14-24 2.8, the 24-70 2.8, and this, of course, would be the 70-200 2.8. Can't wait for that one. Next on the list, the 85mm 1.8. Now, I love an 85. I love it for street photography. I love it for portraiture. It's useful for all sorts of great things. I personally have this lens. And I think for the price point, I can only reiterate that Nikon are making their Z lenses at 1.8 far more spectacular than the F lenses at 1.8. So when you think about a 1.8 lens in the new mirrorless Z mount system, you can't be comparing it in your mind with old DSLR versions of the same types of lenses. So with that statement made, think about all these 1.8 lenses in that light, in that frame, because they are all punching above their weight and their price point. And there are many people out there on the internet who are starting to see the same things that I have been seeing. So the 85, it's a cracker, it's well priced. Next we have the 24mm 1.8. Well, it sits in the same category as the 85 1.8 from a quality perspective. 24 is obviously an architectural lens, a landscape lens. Of course, you have the 24 focal length in the 24 to 70 2.8, and you also have it in the 24 to 70 f4. So in both cases, you may well already have the 24 focal length, which might mean that you don't find it a lens that you really need. Speaking of the 24 to 70 f4, now that lens is a lens that was bundled with the Z6 and the Z7. So a lot of us, probably, who knows, maybe 50% of us or more already have this lens. It's a fantastic lens. It works very hard and gives great results for its very affordable price. And of course, it gives you that great range of 24 to 70. And then if you want to go into DX mode, then that pushes out to 105. Now DX can be used on both the Z6 and the Z7, and you lose some megapixels. With the Z7, you go from 45 odd megapixels down to 19, I believe it is. And on the Z6, you go from 24 down to something like 10. But that is increasing your reach by 50% and still giving you a great result with this fantastic, very affordable all-rounder lens. And it works, of course, on the Z50. And in regards to video, you can shoot 4K video because both cameras crop their 4K video, as in you can crop into a DX cropping in 4K, which means again this lens can be used from 24 to 105 effectively in 4K across the whole range. So this is just a great all-rounder lens that gives you so many options and really makes the Zs highly versatile depending on what situation you're in, just from this lens. And of course, yes, it is f4 through the range, but with in-body stabilization, that means you can push your shutter speeds much lower than you would in the olden days before in-body stabilization and VR. We have this massive, still in shadow, 200 to 600mm lens, which Nikon has not given us f-stops on yet. Well, this is great for wildlife people. Whack it on the Z50 or put it in DX mode and you've suddenly got, yes, you've got a 300 to 900mm lens. That's epic. That's madness. Who knows what the f-stops are going to be? Maybe it'll be something like f4, f5.6. Who knows? Hard to know with this Z mount what they might do. But for people into sports and wildlife, this is going to be a very useful and versatile lens. Moving right along, okay, the DX lenses, the 16 to 50 equates to something like a 24 to 70. It's got its own stabilization within it, which makes it work on the non-stabilized Z50, and it performs very well. I've heard great things about this lens. I've used it once for about 10 minutes in a store. Seemed to work well, and I must say the focus in the Z50 was very fast, which I feel like with the latest 3.00 upgrade, we are on par with the Z50 now. This is a versatile kit lens, extraordinarily affordable. One of my favorite lenses, perhaps of all time, the S 50mm 1.8. This is an extraordinarily affordable lens with ridiculous levels of sharpness. It's a classic focal length used for the last, 80 years, 50 years, 70 years, long time. This is a lens that is for all occasions. You can use it for landscapes, cityscapes, portraiture, and so on. At the price and at the quality, really, you know, I think everyone should have one of these in their kit. It's that good. It's that good. Now, will the 50mm 1.2 be better? I suppose it has to be, because it's probably going to be 4 times the price. And if it is, it's going to be a hell of a lens, but this lens is very impressive. The 14 to 30, now this is a pretty ridiculous focal range for a super wide angle lens. The wide angle allows the f4 to work at lower shutter speeds. Thus, it's not that big a deal. And the difference between 2.8 and f4 is relatively minor. And of course, short depth of field is much harder to see at super wide angles. On top of that, we now have in-body stabilization, which really mitigates most of any issues anyone should have with this lens. And the final thing that's awesome about it, it's 14mm, super wide, but it happens to be flat on the front, so you can put a filter on it, which is a real bonus. The old F-mount 14 to 24, you couldn't do that, and this means you had to be super protective of that front element that you couldn't really cover with anything, because it's spherical, it's round like that. So this is a great lens. Very interested to see how the 14 to 24 2.8 comes out, which is coming soon. I'll get to that on this list shortly. Next, we have the DX 50 to 200. Now, this means it's basically a 75 to 300mm lens. It was another kit lens that came with the Z50. Again, I've heard good things about it. I haven't used it myself. If I was buying the Z50, I would definitely be buying it with the 2 lenses. It's just cheapest that way. Okay, the S35mm 1.8. Well, this again is a lens that fits at the wider end of the range. I've never owned a 35mm 1.8 before until I got this lens. So the S-line 35mm 1.8. Obviously it sits between the 24 and the 50. So for those who want to complete the set, or maybe you've never had one before, it's an interesting focal length to have. It's not super wide, it's not quite where the 50mm's at. You know, some people might say, I never need a lens like this. And I understand where they're coming from. But this version, the Z version, the 1.8 version, is a very capable lens. Well, this is a lens that's caused a lot of hoopla, hasn't it? The 58mm 0.95 Noct. Now, as people slowly get them into their hands and use them, every single person says this lens is nuts. It is awesome, nuts, and everything about it is crazy, and they get it and they understand. Check out this video here from my fellow YouTuber, The Art of Photography, and he just basically says, superb. He hired this lens, and I'm contemplating doing the same thing, just simply because I'm so excited to just see it and touch it and use it. This is how sexy photography can get, is this lens. And I do see it, as I've said in this video that you can see up here, that this is showing Nikon's interest and intent into getting into cine lenses. And that notion has been repeated since I made that video. This is not a lens for everyone. Actually, this is not a lens for hardly anyone, because it is $8,000 US. It is something like $13,000 here where I come from. So it's the price of a car, which is ridiculous. Yes, I lust this lens, and hopefully one day I can show you all how I enjoy it. The first of the Pancake lenses, the 40mm. It is in shadow, as you can see here in this diagram. We don't know anything about it at all, but what I love about both the 40 and the 20, and we might just join the 2 of them together, is that they're small, and that's the whole point. It will make the Z50, the Z6 and the Z7 extremely compact cameras, and that is the point, and that is exciting. And knowing so far the pedigree of the Z mount, they'll be small and they'll be great. So I can't wait to see them. And also Pancake lenses tend to be quite cheap, very, very affordable. So I'm looking forward to all of those elements of the 40mm and the 20mm coming sometime in the next 18 months or so. The DX18 to 140. So what does that make at full frame? Something like a 24 to 210. That's a hell of a lens, isn't it? For people who want a catch-all lens on their Z50, Well, this sounds like the lens for you. This is the equivalent, I suppose, of a 24-200. Any lens that's got that sort of focal range will never be as good as a 24-70 or a 70-200, but you get cheap price, long range, light price, small size, and you trade all that stuff for it not being quite as sharp. And this is what this lens is all about. Strangely enough, the next lens is the 24-200, which was announced very recently and is coming in April, I believe. This is the perfect travel lens. You can see in more depth what I have to say about it up here in this video. Again, you mount this on your camera, you're going out for a hike, you're going out with the family, you're just going to a party, and you want to cover from 24-200 in full frame or in DX, that's something like 40-300. This is a cracker of a lens that covers everything. And that is good. Yes, it might optically be only 70% as good as its bigger brothers and sisters, but that's not the point. The point is it's one lens, it's small, it's light, and it's cheaper. Great lens. And I will get one because I have kids. S-Line 24-105. Now, Nikon has this one still in shadow and has no f-stops next to it. Traditionally, this lens has been an f4 in Nikon's previous line, as well as Canon and Sony, and everyone else, I suppose, for that matter. There are no f-stops here. This makes me think that they might be pushing the envelope. Could we see, like Canon did with the 24-70, they made a 2.0, could we see Nikon pushing this to a 2.8 or a 3.5? Who knows, but it is a bit strange that the f-stops are missing. You'd think they would know. And if it was the same as everyone else's, you'd think they wouldn't care. So why would they hide it? So why are they hiding it? Or maybe they're just hiding it for fun. Big kahuna here might help to satiate some of those people that are just lusting after Canon's 1.2s. Don't understand, I suppose. I'm not a person who buys a new camera system and then just goes straight into all the 1.2s, but perhaps some people are, and that is the 50mm 1.2. Nikon are bringing it, it's coming to the Z, we're going to have it within about a year. It's going to be better than 1.8, which almost seems impossible. Can't wait to see it. The S-Line 100-400. Of course, in DX, this is a 200-600, a very versatile lens, and will probably be quite affordable. Should make a lot of people happy as well. That one, it's a macro 105. Lots of people love to shoot their bugs and their flowers and etc. This is an important lens in the line, and it's good to see it coming. The S-Line 14-24 2.8. Now we can see here in this image, it appears to be flat on top. So unlike the old F-mount one, and like its Z brother, the 14-30, it may well have, it looks like it will have the capacity to mount filters on the front. And this in itself is a very exciting development. This is a classic lens, it's part of the Holy Trinity. Those who love this sort of thing, coming soon. The S-Line 21.8, which is coming out in about a month. This is a lens I'm excited about. I've never had a 20mm 1.8. It's very, very wide. And what I'm most interested in seeing is how well are they controlling distortion at quite a wide lens like this. It's not for everybody. It's something that street photographers, perhaps landscape, and astral photographers, they'll love a lens like this. And I think it will be super sharp like we have seen so far with all of the 1.8Z lenses in general. The 60mm macro micro, need I say more? Some people need it, some people are going to love it. And then finally, it's the 20mm Pancake, which we've already talked about. Okay, well that's the Z lens lineup, and of course, I think the most exciting part of all of that is 23 lenses by the end of next year. That's a lot. That should be enough to keep most people out of Dodge. And 2, it really is showing Nikon's commitment and desire to get out all of this glass. And I suppose what's even more exciting is 2022 will probably bring another 5 to 10 lenses, and these are going to start to become some more exotic lenses. We will probably see more 1.2 lenses and some more specialty zooms. Maybe we'll start to see things like a 300 or a 500 PF. Maybe we will. And that would be exciting because we're getting a lot of the basics out of the way with what's on the roadmap so far. So, as always, I would love to hear, what do you think about that list of lenses? Is there anything in there that you think is seriously missing? Something that's an obvious lens that most people would have, which should be coming out earlier? Tell me. Or tell me the next exotic lens that you would love to see. I'd love to know. If you like what you see, please subscribe, please share, it makes us all smarter, and please like, it helps get the word out there. If you'd like to see over 150 videos right now, click on the Matter of Photography here, and please come and join us in this beautiful space. All right, see ya.